Okay, it's time for us to start. So I request Dr. Madhu Agnihotri to please take it over.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. Very warm welcome to all the dignitaries and participants. We have assembled here today to have sharp insights on the topic IT industry and Eastern India, an overview. Myself, Dr. Madhu Agnihotri, Assistant Professor from St. Xavier's College, Kolkata, welcomes you all on behalf of the Institute of Social and Cultural Studies, India, to take part in the discussion. I am honored and privileged to act as moderator today and share the platform with Sri Subimal Bhattacharjee sir, Director Jogto from New Delhi, as the chair of the session. Sir also acts as an independent advisor and consultant on cyber security, defense, and high-end technology policy solutions. Sir has experience from the corporate world working for reputed organizations, including being the country head India for one of the largest defense corporations, General Dynamics. Welcome, sir, and thank you for taking out time for today's webinar.
Thank you.
We are fortunate enough to have distinguished speakers from diverse fields of IT sector. We have Dr. Omkar Rai, Executive Chairman of Startup Odisha, Department of MSME, Government of Odisha, former Deputy General STPI. Under Sir's leadership, IT industry has witnessed growth. Sir has played pivotal role in dispersing IT industry to Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities in India and revolutionizing tech startup ecosystem in India. From CSM Technologies, we have Sri Nilabdhi Samantra sir, Head of Data Science and Artificial Intelligence, Bhubaneswar, Odisha. Also, we have Dr. Venugopal Jarugumalli, Deputy General Manager from AI Factory, ZF Group, Hyderabad, Telangana, India. A warm welcome and thanks to the chair of the session and eminent speakers for joining us today at the Institute of Social and Cultural Studies, India. IT sector has seen exponential growth in last few decades in India. It has played pivotal role in transforming services and providing technological solutions to cater the industry requirements. As pandemic ravaged the world, experts predicted that Indian IT industry will probably see downfall in its growth patterns, having impact even worse than that of the financial crisis of 2008. However, the current scenario has seen the tremendous increase in the demand for flexible technological solutions. Cloud technology solutions and remote working facilities have provided enormous opportunities and opened avenues for rethinking and redesigning business models for sustainable growth. Data security and confidentiality has emerged as the critical challenge for handling business operations in the new scenario. As per the recent Global 500 IT Services Ranking Report 2022, 6 Indian IT companies have made it to top 25 list of most valuable global brands. TCS and Infosys are the second and third most valuable brand in IT sector in the world respectively. The other companies in the list includes Wipro, HCL, and Tech Mahindra. The digital transformation in global economy has been accelerated by the pandemic in past 2 years. Pandemic has created many challenges such as unprecedented business continuity planning, cybersecurity issues, and remote working. Our Honorable Prime Minister in 2016 stated that the development of eastern parts of India is a core priority and small towns must also have enough employment opportunities. With this thought, in 2020, Ministry of Steel announced the launch of Purvodaya to develop Eastern India into an integrated steel hub. Eastern Belt has huge potential to add more than 75% of country's incremental steel capacity. Through this mission, Government of India aims to transform logistics and utilities infrastructure, leading to the ultimate transformation of socio-economic landscape in the eastern India. Such transformation is possible only with technologically advanced and globally competitive systems. Continuous innovation and automation can play key role in the fulfillment of such dream. Digital first enterprise is the need of the hour. It is very significant to consider new operative business models that are flexible and ready to adapt to the volatile market. Industry needs to stay relevant for the customer and cater to the changing needs of the customers. The focus of any industry has to be outcome based for sustainable development. Continuous talent development and regulatory changes to facilitate the digital enterprise to operate in conducive manner are also the key issues that are needed to develop any industry. In today's discussion, we will get insights and deeper understanding on the key issues of concern for the growth and the related opportunities and challenges for IT industry in Eastern India. With these introductory words, I would like to invite Shri Subimal Bhattacharya sir, the session chair for today's webinar, to take over the session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Madhu Agnihotri, for the welcome address, as well as laying out some of the points, that define the IT industry, the Eastern region, the way everything, the whole ecosystem around digital India is growing. And I can't thank the Institute of Social and Cultural Studies, Kolkata, enough for giving me an opportunity to be present as part of the delegation where three very distinguished speakers would be speaking. I rather feel a little bit awkward to be given an opportunity to chair the session. But then I still think that, this industry is something that is so dynamic, that has so much of opportunities to still make a difference to the Eastern region. Eastern region isn't anywhere behind in the digital revolution in the country, but possibly the opportunities that still remain and emerge with time in almost many aspects as we move in the journey of life. Now we are moving on to technology of 6G. We started talking from 1G, 2G, all of that. I just tried to mention just one aspect, that there are so many things that still remains to be explored. The opportunities for academics, for industry, for the young minds, all to come together and contribute, one, of course, to the national development, and as well as have gainful employment opportunities from various parts of the world. India has been a leader for the last few decades as far as the IT industry is concerned. The software industry has taken India to a lot of places, a lot of geographies, a lot of the revenue accrues to the country, a lot of the GDP's influence today is from this sector. So with these remarks, I just wanted to get going here. Basically, if you see the IT industry per se, you look at the very basic programming, say to today's domains where we are looking into the future with the help of innovation. When we look at high processing computing, high performance computing, when we look at cybersecurity, when we look at where artificial intelligence is taking, where data analytics is becoming so much more common, I think we can see that the whole IT industry, the whole ecosystem where everyone plays their part, hasn't been a stagnant or a stable ecosystem. It has been very, very dynamic. industry has been able to gain and garner confidence of Fortune 500 companies for decades. Even today, when we still don't have a data protection legislation in the country, yet over all these years, so much of data processing work happens in the country based on the service level agreements. So the industry, the IT industry, apart from its intrinsic strength, where the engineers, the programmers have been able to come up to address solutions to many large issues across the domains till date, and then continue to further enhance their skills and performance and spread across. We have witnessed tremendous impact in this country. In fact, to give you a figure, that this year the total industry revenue is set to reach US dollar 227 billion from the IT industry. So, and this is 15% year-on-year growth compared to what was last year. Professor Madhu just referred to the pandemic. Now, if you saw the period of the pandemic, you saw that how the IT industry, the whole sector was able to keep communications going, a lot of innovation, a lot of solutions came out for people to be able to seamlessly communicate. One of the technology that we are right now communicating with and being able to join from all different parts of the country, and more so from the eastern side, I think has also seen enough of improvements. So the pandemic as such has been of the industry, the IT industry per se in the pandemic has been of great help, and of course from a revenue point of view, also from an opportunity point of view, also the Indian IT industry has done well. Now the question comes that while all of the country has seen the growth of the industry, but still if you pick up, there are a few pockets in which the real progress, or you can say the concentration of activities have remained. So today, if we try to name a few cities in the IT industry, we immediately think of Bangalore or Hyderabad or Pune or Chennai. We still take some time to think of Kolkata or Bhubaneswar or Patna, or even look at the northeastern states also. So while a lot of the people from this region, Eastern India, have been working in this industry across those cities where the profligacy has been, and a lot are working abroad. Per se, the concentration, the emergence of IT hub in the Eastern India has still possibly lagged behind many of those other states. Not because the state governments haven't given those incentives, not because possibly there has been a little bit late start, but somewhere maybe there is an opportunity to improve and to be able to garner more business opportunities, so that some specific sectors can really be targeted from the region. We have three distinguished speakers, and I think they will touch on all of this, and I am here more from the learner perspective as a student here. But what I would say is that having worked also in this industry, more I can say the cusp of the defense and security industry, where today IT and cyber security, if I may drag it a little bit further, becomes very, very important. I think I also share a fair view around that there are so much still to be done. the focus on innovation, the efforts of the government to rein in digital India to the last mile, to go through apps and services to almost every sector. I think it provides a lot of opportunities for many of the hidden talents from across the country. Now, having said so, I can also vouch for and say that in the security space, we have seen a lot of ethical hackers or people who are actually working on the security space emerge from the region, even from many of the northeastern states also. Some credible individuals are now today even becoming entrepreneurs in the application of IT to solve many of the day-to-day problems. I'm aware of one of those startups which is looking at how you use artificial insemination to raise the goat population and at the same time find markets for the meat that comes out. So like that, there are many efforts that uh, definitely are being looked at, but possibly this is the time, and I would thank the institute to have thought about this topic specifically at this stage, because there is a possibility to optimize the capabilities of the region in this industry, and even make it into a far much more gainful venture. So with these words, I'd like to hand over to you, Dr. Madhu, so that we have more time to hear from the three distinguished speakers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Just a second.
I think there has been some connectivity issue. May we please have Dr. Omkar Rai on the floor, and we would love to hear from you, sir.
So I'm onboarded?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you very much. First of all, I must congratulate Institute of Social Science and Cultural Studies for organizing such a wonderful seminar, a virtual discussion on IT industry and in Eastern India. I must thank the organizers and Sri Arindam for affording an opportunity to me to be here today. I would acknowledge the kind of address that has been delivered by distinguished chair, Sri Suvimal Bhattacharya. And he has brought on the fore the kind of development that IT industry has led, the kind of scenario that we have today. And therefore, I'm very glad to be here. I must say that this discussion, this topic actually is a topic on which the deliberations have to happen, obviously for the reason that the share of Eastern India in terms of IT industry, in terms of emerging technology sector, in terms of the startup ecosystem that we are witnessing today in terms of creation of unicorns all across country, which the number has reached 100. We need to be, critical. We need to look at the scenario that Eastern India has per se. I would say that the IT industry, which has grown to $200 billion exporting industry with more than 5 lakhs engineers working across the value chain. India is a IT services leader. It's a R&D services destination of the world. And we are actually delivering products, technology products, and R&D services for our customers. And this is also fueling the creation of unicorns all across the country. As I said, we have 100 unicorns by now. Enormous wealth has been created by startup ecosystem. And the experts say that it is also fueled by the IT services industry, which is actually creating technology products for their customers all across the world. And this comes handy to the ideators from all across to employ their services, to deploy them in their ideation process, and so that they could convert their ideas into products. And we are witness to the kind of growth that is happening in this very sector. If you look at Eastern India, it is defined, it covers the eastern part of Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Jharkhand, West Bengal, and Odisha. And if you look at the the leadership that West Bengal had at one point of time in terms of development of S&T and research infrastructure in the entire country, educational infrastructure in the entire country. Obviously, the kind of expectation that Eastern India should have, that we should have given the leadership to the entire nation. Whereas if you look at the distribution of 100 unicorns, you will find that if you exclude the NCR sector, NCR region of this nation, most of the unicorns are coming from Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, and Karnataka. And therefore, the Eastern India, which is most populous part of this country, whose education infrastructure has been par excellent, we have to answer the question that why we are not able to, lead this entire country and deliver the, knowledge creation, deliver the product creation, and lead the IT industry or any other sector per se. We know that this entire region is very fertile. We have a lot of rivers, we have mines, we have minerals, we have heavy industry focused in, we have research institutions right from West Bengal to Odisha. And therefore, it is incumbent on us to create a kind of ecosystem which gives us much needed leadership, which we have been eluding for a very long time. I would like to say that apart from West Bengal, that is Calcutta, where in about 1.5 lakhs engineers are working, where the export of software industry has been in the tune of more than 30,000 crore. The second most important destination has been in the form of Bhubaneswar, where the IT industry and startup ecosystem is growing at very fastest pace. Because of the kind of policies this government of Odisha has put in place, the kind of policy-led governance and with peaceful stable leadership, and therefore a lot of innovation in happening in terms of governance, in terms of policy, in terms of digitization of the government. And that is why the startup ecosystem is fast pacing in this state of Odisha. I must say that the kind of industry we have across, not only in Odisha, but also in Jharkhand, the kind of talent that we have both in Odisha and the kind of education system that we have both in Odisha and West Bengal, it is incumbent on us together to create such an ecosystem, such an enabling environment that our young boys and girls could indulge into product creation. In turn, they could create unicorns and successful startups in emerging technologies. As Sri Shubhimal Bhattacharya was mentioning, that entire emerging technology sectors like Industry 4.0, now Metaverse, AI, ML, natural language processing, blockchain kind of technology, green technology, electronic vehicles, all these sectors are to be, explored by young boys and girls. And therefore, the much responsibility lies on the industry leaders, the entire industry that we have in these areas, in this entire region. And I think the kind of culture we will inculcate, the kind of initiative we will take, it will percolate in the state of Jharkhand, in the state of Bihar, in the eastern part of Uttar Pradesh. We have, as I said, we have a lot of human resource available. We have excellent, finest educational institutions, and we are producing large number of graduates who are actually, powering the entire ecosystem in the rest of the country. I must say that the people from this part of country, part of nation, are actually, achieving a lot of success. while being in other part of this country, and while delivering product and services to their customer, creating a lot of wealth and employment. And therefore we have to become very conducive, we have to become policy led, we have to create a collaboration framework platform, and we should leverage and capitalize whatever we have in our this eastern region of this country. I must say that a lot of things are happening. That entire growth, as I said, the people of this part of country are actually, leading several R&D corporation, IT industry, all across country. Not only in across country, the people from this region are leading so many technological institutions, technology institutions, research institutions all across the world. And therefore, the requirement is that we should create a conducive environment, a kind of policy that the people come back to these places and indulge into creation of product and technology and knowledge, so that this part of country becomes very productive and establishes the kind of leadership it used to have at one point of time. I have, on behalf of Odisha, I must say that Odisha is taking all-out initiatives to provide much-needed policies, much-needed infrastructure, governance structure, and incentives to make sure that this state does whatever is required to be done to promote the industries, promote the R&D, promote the product creation, and promote the established ecosystem. With these few words, I must thank the organizer for picking up a very important topic for the discussions, and I'm very sure that it will be followed by several other discussions, and the findings of this very seminar would find the way in the eyes of, in the knowledge of the policymakers, so that we can create a very great future for this eastern part and make them efficient vehicle, efficient a kind of partner of growth for the entire nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for giving us good insights about the strong educational infrastructure that we have in Eastern India, and also how startup can play a pivotal role in increasing the development and also maintaining the ecosystem in the eastern part of the country. Thank you, sir. With this, I would like to now invite Sri Nilabdhi Samantray sir, Head of Data Science and Artificial Intelligence at CSM Technologies, to share his thoughts on this.
Thanks, Madhu. I think quite an insight that Dr. Rai just spoke about, and Mr. Bhattacharya as well. I think that was the right indication that was given by Mr. Dr. Rai, that if we look at the share numbers, there are more than 25,000 tech startups that, out of which 42 unicorns, and in 11 IPOs in 2021 itself, we saw India is the third largest startup hub globally, which has produced 25,000 tech startups and 42 unicorns and 11 IPOs that we spoke about. At the same time, if we look at the Eastern India part of it, we produce around 40,000 technical graduates every year from Odisha itself, 50,000 management graduates. On similar scale, we see that in Jharkhand, in Bihar, as well as in West Bengal. But most of the tech graduates that come out, mostly they pursue jobs in places like Bangalore or Chennai or Pune and other places. And but with time, things are changing, and we have started seeing more and more companies coming up in the eastern part of the country, wherein if we look sheerly by numbers, then we can look at, say, there are 900 plus IT companies in West Bengal itself, which has, as Dr. Rai already said, 150,000 professionals that are working in some large firms like IBM, TCS, Cognizant, Accenture, Tech Mahindra, and all the larger firms. And they work across different areas like the emerging technologies, big data analytics, and things like that. And on similar lines, we have also seen some movements in places, other smaller cities like Ranchi as well as Patna. But after, I think, West Bengal, or predominantly Kolkata and Newtown, that area, I think Bhubaneswar is where we see a lot of companies that have recently been set up in IT companies. If we surely go by numbers, it's 100 plus IT companies with some IT majors like TCS, Infosys, Tech Mahindra, and Wipro. They have already have their campuses. Capgemini, which has also put its footprints with some takeovers in recent times. And there are other companies like Mindtree, Mindfire, or mid-size or small-size companies are there. And of course, a company from where I belong, CSM Technologies, that we have development centers in Bhubaneswar, Odisha. So with government policies which are which has ease of doing business, there has been SEZs been set up. For example, in Odisha, there are 4 cities where there has been software parks or SEZs: Bhubaneswar, Baleswar, Cuttack, and Berhampur, where there has been friendly policies that enables or encourages being the IT setup as well as expansion of the delivery. So as an example, if we look at the total engineering colleges in Odisha itself, it's close to 150 engineering colleges, some 40 plus MCA colleges who are all come out as tech graduates in the software world, who contribute across the country in different IT firms. But based on the new policies that are changing and the environment that is being enabled, so we see more and more growth in the eastern part of the country, wherein if we look at the top technology areas where we can see that the things which are moving in the eastern part of the countries, then I think Dr. Rai had already touched base about the emerging technologies. So yes, we do see a lot of emerging technologies work being done out of say Bhubaneswar, like big data analytics or advanced analytics, cloud-based analytics, augmented reality or virtual reality, robotic process automation, cognitive AI, ML, and different machine learning, deep learning kind of things. And that is exactly what we have been, even in the organization where I belong, we have been doing and serving customers across the globe in emerging technologies, digital services, and other technology services, wherein we deal with some data protection and consulting and implementation kind of work. So the entire gambit of work that in the past we were not doing so much, but now that we have all the platform enabled, so I think a lot of those work has been delivered from the eastern side of the country, and we definitely see that growth in the IT sector from the eastern part of the country. So that's a bit about, since we're talking about the eastern part, if we look at the growth rate itself, then the compound annual growth rate of, say, for example, Odisha, that is 8.53, which is almost 3% more than the national growth rate of 5.8. So that also shows the kind of investment of the foreign direct investment that is happening in the state, which has a cascading effect in all sectors, and predominantly IT sector also being one of the knowledge sector being one of part of the same cascading effect, which is impacting the overall growth. If we look at what Dr. Bhattacharya was talking about in the past, that is the target of $250 billion, which was for 21-22. So I think we achieved $227 billion as per McKinsey report, which is phenomenal for the whole of India as IT sector. And 23 target comes to around $350 billion. So I'm sure, I'm confident that Eastern India is going to play a major role from purely from delivering out of the landscape itself, but yes, contributing to the overall the overall export of services that is being done. So we will be, the Eastern India will be part of that. That's just one of the point I thought I would be highlighting there. If we look at typically the union budget itself for 22-23, it comes to around $12 billion in US dollars, and that investment will also, the Eastern India or the East India will be also part of that union budget. That is the investment that the government is also doing, and the special focus on the IT spends. And the IT spending in India itself is expected to be more than $100 billion in 22-23. That's as per the Gartner report. And looking at that, the point to make here is, it's not just the global customers or the geographies like the US or the UK or the traditional European customers, but we see a huge potential of IT spend happening within our country as India, and we as eastern part of India, we would be part of that, delivering the software services and solutions for that part of IT spending, or the digital intervention that is going to happen as part of 22-23, which is the current estimated spend that will be part of India. As I think one more point was highlighted about the total number of you can say IT professionals that were added based on the pandemic. So though pandemic brought a lot of bad news, but the good news was the IT industry it emerged as a leader during the COVID pandemic. So it was the least disrupted, like a few of the other industries, like mines and minerals and healthcare, of course. So these are the areas which was not really disrupted because of pandemic as such from an industry perspective. And it actually peddled a lot of digital transformation for enterprises, which was not happening earlier in the past. So the industry, IT industry itself recorded nearly around 10% estimated growth in 22, with highest ever addition of approximately 450,000 employees. That is in this year itself, in 22 itself, the hiring was of 450,000 employees, which is almost 500,000. And this 500,000, if we look at from the total number of employees, IT base that we have in India is 4.5 million. So 500,000 is massive. That is the kind of net addition that had happened in this year itself. So and if we look at this sheer numbers, of course, the major share of that was also the Eastern India was also part of that numbers as such. Because if we look at purely by numbers also, West Bengal itself is 150,000 IT employees. Bhubaneswar or Odisha is comparatively much lesser from that, but yes, it's catching up pretty fast on those numbers. So that's a bit about Eastern India versus Odisha, West Bengal versus the rest of India, and I'm pretty confident that the way things have grown and the way the growth rate is happening and the changes that is happening in the IT sector. So definitely Eastern India, predominantly Kolkata and Bhubaneswar, of course, will not be much left behind than what is happening in Bangalore, Pune or Chennai that we see as growth areas in other places. Of course, Kolkata is already pretty much pretty ahead and it's very close by. But yes, I think East India has now has to take the center stage pretty soon as well. That's what I view. That's all, Madhu, as a viewpoint from a IT industry from East India perspective, I wanted to add.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your insightful words, and also giving us an idea that how in Eastern India the IT industry is growing, and the motivating words like the budget allocation for Eastern India is there for especially for IT industry, and also considering the number of graduates and the engineering graduates that we have in this region. So considering that there is huge potential for growth and development in Eastern India in IT sector. As a whole, India has huge potential in IT sector, but Eastern India needs to be a little more explored in this context. So with these positive words, we move on to our next speaker today. Thank you, sir. We have Shri Dr. Venugopal Jarugomalli, DGM AI Factory. So I'd request sir to now take over the session and share his thoughts on this.
Can you hear me? Am
Yes.
I audible?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay. First of all, thank you very much for Institute of Social and Cultural Studies. It actually takes back me almost 17 years, okay, to my PhD institute in Iscs, Bangalore. So that's the center of gravities of this social and economic change and cultural changes, okay. So thanks for inviting me to speak on this topic. Yes, I heard the esteemed speakers talking about the growth, the development, and then the possibilities and some of the trajectories of the future. What I would like to do is, I had gone a small a step ahead and then created a slide. Okay, so probably you all can get some nudges of it. And as I said, like I'll be focusing mostly on the. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So, yeah, let me. Yeah. So, as I said, like first of all, thank you for inviting me to this session. Okay. What I'm going to do today is about. Okay. We'll talk about the growth, development, everything. Okay, there are two ways of growth and development. The first thing we all talk about is the outsourcing. Okay, what is the IT outsourcing and what are the areas and services which we are getting in? And the outsourcing uses an external service providers for effectively delivery enabled applications. That's how the outsourcing has started. And how does this outsourcing and what are the different models of outsourcing? Because why I'm talking this is like the centers of enablement, like the centers of enablements in IT is Bangalore, Pune, or Hyderabad, or NCR for that matter. Okay, they all started because of the early adopters of the system. Okay, so the project-based models or dedicated team models or staff augmentation models. Okay, these are the three models which we have it. And so most of our IT companies in India are focusing on staff augmentation or dedicated team. We call it as OKCs or OKR team. So the project or product-based models are now emerging. Okay, that's the trend where we will try to see more growth and more development. Okay. So as my previous speakers was pointing out, like the COVID has done something good and something bad. Okay, it has transformed. Okay, the transformation started with the global talent pool transformation. Now you can see the great resignation is going on in the Western world, and then there's a global supply chain replanning is happening, and global big tech regulations have started, and there's an ESG-led business models are coming up, and formulation of circular economy is coming up. Technology for good and at pace and scale is coming up. Okay, this is how the global trends are picking up. Now, we talk about outsourcing as there were few data points which how many employees got added every year. Like we have added, according to NASCOM, in FY22, we have added around 4.5 lakh new jobs. Okay, overall direct employees to 50 lakh people. So this is a great trend. And then it's also the package software segment. Okay, is developed rapidly over the forecast period, and the technologies like we call it as STEM or SMAC. Okay, social mobility, analytics, cloud, Web 3.0s, all are emerging, and the one place to find out the technical force is in India. Thanks for that kind of a technical education and all. Okay. Now, let me talk about the regional parities, or I don't call it as a disparity or something. How does the regional spread and where the vibrant cities of IT hubs in India? Like you can see, the majority of them are towards the central or towards the western India. There are centers like Bhubaneswar and Kolkata and Chennai, but the emerging centers like Coimbatore is coming up. But the Andhra Pradesh, Vizag has been planned, but the pace is very slow. That's how it goes. Okay. So the determinants of this entire development is because of population and manpower and natural resources and its utilization, capital formation and capital accumulation, and then favorable investment patterns. Thanks to our policies and our people, like we can adjust anywhere. Like from my 18 or 20 years of experience, we are the only people from India who can stretch and do the jobs. Okay, not in any part of the Western world or even in the European world, they can't stretch more. Okay, they are done with the things. Okay, that's how that flexibility has given us a more adaptability. Now, let me point about the four I's, which are very, very important. Okay, the first one is infrastructure. Why this area is required. Second is industrialization. Third is institutions. Fourth is incentives. Okay, these are the areas which these are the drivers where the kind of an IT investment has taken place. Like, for example, I can, while I was doing my PhD on automobiles and determination of FDI in India, these are the four concepts which I was trying to understand. And now the centers of vibrations, like Bangalore, Pune, or even Hyderabad, started with these four I's. Okay, that's the whole thing. And I will give you different figures now. Like the other area which entire world is catching up is a index called DESI, okay, Digital Economy and Society Index, okay, which focuses on human capital, connectivity, okay, integration of digital technologies and digital public services, okay, and research and development in ICT. So this is another area where the entire Europe is working on it, and then in India and other countries also need to catch up a lot on this. Now, what was this entire regional spread? If you see, right, this is this exactly gives highest employability of this. Like you can see the highest employability indexes if you talk about like and maximum number of hiring is happening in the green areas. Okay, this is a latest report of 2022 of India skill reports. Okay, which I have downloaded. Okay, and then if you see there was a growth centers from 2016 onwards, but now it is declining. Okay, this is what is happening, and these are the main trends and availability of workforce. Okay, there's a lot of availability of workforce in the areas like Kolkata as well as Bhubaneswar. I mean to say it's basically eastern states like Andhra Pradesh, Orissa, and West Bengal. These employees, these graduates are going and working in the different states. Okay, now you can see, right? This is how our employment changes are happening, and then now it's around 45 to 46% of employees are getting employed. Okay, and around these are the different courses and STEM sciences where we are getting the talent. Okay, now if you see, this is very, very important topic which I want to mention here. Like if you see the states like the eastern states, okay, which were which are the maximum suppliers of employable talent. Okay, but the fact is this employable talent are getting produced in these eastern states, but because of the opportunities are at the other side of India, so most of these guys are going around. Okay, that's the fact, and that's the takeaway we have to work. And then our policymakers, our leaders, has to focus on developing the local 4Is, and then try to attract more investment in this. Okay, so this basically talks about the information technology, plays around 50%, of employability, and this is how most of these courses are creating our employment. Okay. Now, as I say, like job demand states, I was talking about employment availability, but if you see job demand states, Maharashtra, Karnataka, NCR, Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, Andhra Pradesh, and Telangana are catching up. Okay, but predominantly the top 5 are like Maharashtra, Karnataka, Uttar Pradesh, NCR, and Haryana. These are the states. The high number of job demands are getting there. So apart from what we have as a technical knowledge, the soft skill plays a very important role. Okay, the problem solving, communications, active learning, okay, and digital things and critical thinking plays a very important role. As I said, I want to conclude it and say uh, the East is producing the talent, and West is absorbing them and getting jobs. Okay, there is still lot of development needs to happen, and lot of works need to be done for eastern part of India. Yeah. Yes, I'm done.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your thoughts with us and giving us a clarity about the outsourcing model and different paradigms of outsourcing, and also highlighting the significance of soft skills in this context. Thank you so much, sir. Now, I have just a few questions that came to my mind, and I just want to ask all the eminent speakers, whoever just wants to answer this. We have talked about the talent pool, the strong or enormous talent pool that we have in Eastern India. So, what measures can be taken to hold the talent pool within Eastern India?
Creation of companies, because I'll tell you, I was working in Bangalore. Okay, so there was a big joke people used to call, like, Bangalore has changed its name from a Bengaluru, because they used to say it like, a lot of Bengalis are coming, that's why they're calling it as a Bengaluru. Okay, that's the kind of an people, and you have all societies of people stays there, but that's how it goes. And in Western places, like, for example, you talk about New York, or even I was there while I was working in California, and Amirpet in Hyderabad used to call us an MIT of software. Okay, because that's where you get people can train, get courses and all. But despite of all these things, okay, now Andhra is separated from Telangana, but otherwise Hyderabad is a vibrant place compared to other locations. We don't have a companies, like, thanks for working from home. Most of us stay back, and then we are trying to develop a few more things. See, what happens here is assimilation and dissimulation of knowledge, right? If you have one center, there's a lot of assimilation of knowledge will come, right? If I work in one location, I go and talk to friends, I go and have a chai, there will be a lot of discussions happens. People hear words, and then there will be dissimulation of knowledge will happen. Okay, that's how it has to go. Okay, the talent has to get nurtured, and talent has to put in practice. Okay, but unfortunately, because of the centers are not, the gravity centers are not that much vibrant. Okay, there is a lot of migration happening of talent available from our location to other locations.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I also, I would like to request Dr. Omkar Rai, sir. Sir has talked about the startup that can play a pivotal role in the development of IT industry in Eastern India. So, sir, can you please highlight few government steps or facilities for the startups in Eastern India. So that if somebody wants to start up, create a company or want to start up something, in that case, how they can or from where they can start? Dr. Omkar Rai, sir. Okay, maybe some audio issue is there. So Nilabdhi Samantray, sir.
Yeah, hi, Madhu.
Hello, sir. Sir, I just wanted to ask, can remote working facility play a significant role in holding talent pool in Eastern India?
Absolutely. I think globally it has, it's not just about Eastern India. I think globally there has, over the pandemic, there has been two things that has happened. The first thing is a realization that with proper discipline put in place and tracking put in place, people can actually work from anywhere with the same level of productivity or even more. The second thing is people have realized the great resignation that has happened over the entire world has happened because of work-life balance. So a lot of people, they prefer work-life balance over the salary increase as well. Which we also recently saw with one resignation, the top executive resignation from Apple, who I think it was in news that the person left a job of $1 billion because he was asked to come back to office, and he and his entire team. So what that indicates, that I think that was the last week's news. So what that indicates is that people want the flexibility of working, and they want to also commit. So as long as the work is done, whatever is assigned, if people can work in either a hybrid mode, that is, come to office 2 days to office and 3 days from home, or vice versa, or permanently from home, or flexi work timing, that you can come in office but your own time. I think that plays a major role, which realization has happened post pandemic more than ever before.
And sir, how data confidentiality is ensured in such case? Like,
so there are two kinds of there are different kind of projects. So certain projects where the data criticality is very important. It could be, say, some specific banking projects where you would need some point-to-point connectivities, where there is we can call it as red lines, where the data security is very important, and there are some captive units also. In that case, remote working may not work, because you have to choose those employees who can work there. But more or less, every company has different sort of projects which can work on VPN and other firewalls put in place, and Citrix and other solutions are there, wherein to a certain extent, I mean, the majority of it is, and the data security and other things are taken care of. And there are some solutions also put in the client database and in the application, as well as DB server, like, say, IBM Guardium kind of a solution, which gives a certain level of data security. So in the world, there is nothing called 100% foolproof. No matter how much of physically you're present in a certain location, there can always be a breach that come in. So 90% of the project can be done from home. There is no reason why it cannot be done. For 10% of that projects, which really needs to be there as part of that location, I think that flexibility can be provided to the employees. I'm sure every organization can provide that flexibility who cannot actually be there, present physically. Some other employee might take up that part of the role.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving clarity on this issue, because data security is a very big challenge, and how companies are sharing their business data and how people are working on it, that is a very, very critical issue.
And I think there is a lot of masking that happens. So it's not like the yesteryears where anyone working in a banking project is able to see the credit card numbers and all. It doesn't happen anymore. There are a lot of data masking and security and logs. And of course, there are firewalls being created where no data cannot, unauthorized data cannot neither be viewed nor be shipped nor be tampered with. But yes, exceptions are always there. There are, the greater the policeman, the greater the hacker. So it's like there is always a, cat and mouse thing. So
You're always one step ahead.
yeah, so the ethical hackers have to catch the non-ethical hackers, and that continues. So
Yes. Thank you so much, sir, for the discussion.
yeah, well,
And now I would like to invite our session chair today, Sri Subimal Bhattacharjee, sir, to take over the session and give his remarks, concluding remarks and observations.
Thank you, Dr. Madhu. I think we heard three nice short presentations. Your 10-minute slots, everyone almost adhered to. And, I think everyone agrees to the fact that the potential of the Eastern region has to be realized. It has not been realized. People from the region are doing well in other parts of the region. However, when Mr. Nilabha Samantray spoke, he left a lot of positive points when he said that big data analytics, cloud data analytics, a lot in machine learning and deep learning are happening in the region. Now, these are very good indicators because talent can be in any geography. And if some gainful opportunities are created in the tier 2 cities, as he was just also explaining to your other question about how people have tried to go back to their hometowns and yet continued with the work, of course taking care of the security aspects. But the fact that talent pool need not be concentrated in the large cities and then can operate from an atmosphere or an infrastructure where connectivity is there. And I think these things are something that we have to very closely look at, and that's where I say this is a very positive indicator, because today and the future it is going to be data. Data analytics is going to be one of the very important areas from many perspectives. And as much as talent nurturing, as much as skilling, as much as education that we can give in this area, I think we can catch up and even improve upon in very many specific areas while remaining in the region and performing from the region. So I think that's something that's very interestingly important. The other thing that I wanted to also mention was that we, of course, Calcutta and Bhubaneswar, or rather the West Bengal and Odisha primarily are the focal points, or everyone tries to only look at that. But even if you look at Jharkhand, some of the major cyber crimes in the country have a base in Jharkhand, as and of course the Netflix content on Jamtara has made it far much more prominent. So now, if such ingenious criminal mind using the connectivity and technology and social engineering are able to operate out of those places. So I think even around the cybersecurity space, whether it is the hackers or whether it is the ethical hackers, and solutions to stop and hit into phishing and all other kinds of tendencies, I think that's also a possibility. Cybersecurity remains quite strong. Kolkata has a good center of CDAC which has concentrated on cybersecurity. Even in Indian Statistical Institute, also work around security has happened. So I think that's again an area that's going to be big, and we should concentrate on that so that again we reduce some of the gap in this area. See, there are low-hanging fruits and there are some that are high-end. If we work as a strategy, there is no reason that we cannot be able to catch up and come to those levels. The pandemic, and as we also heard from speakers and specifically from Mr. Samantrai, has taken us to a point where we have moved away from a traditional security concern when it went to last mile computing or getting into a network. So as all kinds of security packages or the encapsulation of the laptops and all have happened, so that employees could go back to their hometowns and work using a normal leased line or even maybe mobile connectivity. I think this is also an opportunity to do far much larger things also from the region. So in short, I would think that, and of course, Dr. Venugopal's presentation and about the 4 eyes, the the digital index that you referred to, and of course the transformation happening in many areas, particularly the employability, the skilling, the supply chain changes. All of this are very, very much handy tools that we should pick up. So if I may sum up, what I would say in 2 lines is, first, we realize that we have a potential and we are still not at an optimal performance. Hence, we should look at all the prick points that kept us away, but the opportunities today that are there on the horizon are enough for us to look into, as we looked at machine learning, the big data analytics, artificial intelligence, and then of course also the other end on the cybersecurity side. So data analytics and cybersecurity offers great opportunity for the region to catch up, pick up, and possibly become leaders in some specific areas. So I think fantastic on the part of the Institute of Social and Cultural Studies to think of this topic at this point of time, because when Digital India is of prime attention of the Prime Minister, where everywhere effort is there, he has mentioned about how India should become the cybersecurity hub of the whole world. The efforts around artificial intelligence that Niti Aayog has fostered, but even going to areas where MOD and others are looking at, the opportunities around hackathon to go and look into prick points and find solutions. I think these are all triggers for the Eastern Indian states, the policymakers, and the industry altogether to be able to take up and proceed. So thank you so much for again giving me a scope to sum up what our honorable speakers spoke about.
Sir? Hello, sir?
Yeah, please, is it
Yeah,
addressed to me?
Yeah. I had a question.
Sure.
Sir, how did the Russia-Ukraine war have an effect on the Indian IT sector? Please elucidate.
So definitely, Indian IT professionals are located and co-located in so many places. So that, of course, a kind of a dislocation and proximal change that definitely has happened, where teams have worked in both these countries on specific projects. That's one part. But on the larger scale, the IT industry per se hasn't really been affected, except of course the stock market going down and all because of the war scenario. I think the opportunities for the IT industry and the IT professionals for the country still remain very, very stable. The NESCOM figures have been quoted by the 3 distinguished speakers. Today, if you see, it's about 7.5% of our GDP that is as an influence. The rate of hiring, the extent to which the projections are there for software exports and services exports, I don't see that immediately it has got any kind of an impact on the sector per se in India.
Thank you, Anindita, for the question. And thank you so much, sir, for the valuable words and summing up the whole session and giving us all the key takeaways of the session together. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
I would now request Shri Krishnendu Bakshi, Program Coordinator of the Institute, to deliver vote of thanks.
Thank you, Madhu. So I would first like to thank on behalf of our organization to the speakers, Dr. Omkar Rai, Executive Chairman, Startup Odisha, Sri Nilabdi Samantarai of CSM Technologies, and Dr. Venugopal, DGM AI Factory, for giving very interesting deliberations and for giving time in this weekday in spite of their very busy schedule. We are also thankful to Sri Subimal Bhattacharya, who has chaired this session and also coordinated with us in spite of his very busy schedule. I am also thankful to our moderator, Dr. Madhu Agnihotri, and the couple of viewers who have joined this session, and they have very and also put their questions and listen to the speakers. Thank you. We shall meet again in our next webinar. Thank you all.